For many years, I've talked about the reality of white woman supremacy, right? As I have pushed against white supremacy, I have pushed against Nazism, and I have pushed against the use of the pretty white woman to push warfare and to push genocide, okay? And I've seen these things increase at a frightening pace since 9/11, right? The use of the pretty white woman to push this lie, to push that lie, and we see it both on the left and the right. There's many ways in both men and women are slaves to lust, okay? And there's many ways in which the devil has programmed people through the mind control, through the voices in their head, that it's misogyny, to push against people that create content which promotes hatred of other people, which leads to genocides, which leads to wars. And so just because a woman's pretty, just because a woman's attractive, just because a woman's white, just because she's an American, it does not mean that she is spiritual. It does not mean that she cares. It does not mean that she will care about my fight against human trafficking and the connections that I have made to the solar flares. None of them have. None of them have. And there's many women that have actually listened to my stuff about the solar flares in general, but there is a block with both men and women, women and men, and I mean both genders. There is like a major psychological block in the people that I've met in this world achieving a certain level of knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and compassion, right? So as far as I'm concerned, I'm here to learn from how fucked up people have allowed this planet to become, and I see how they are rejecting and are offended by my very ideas. So it's very important that people understand that I was right about this day that's coming. And what we're seeing now with the AI bots, the AI avatars, the AI personalities from the white woman in the UK with the purple hair, this is the latest manifestation of white woman supremacy. It's not misogyny to talk about this avatar using, right, the image of a white woman. And why does that work? Why does the image of a white woman seem to be the preferred vehicle for them to push forward a genocidal message? Because people believe and trust in the people that they're watching, especially if they're the right gender, if they're the right color, and if they're attractive, you know. So with the so-called weaponization of migration, which a lot of people are screaming in the UK, in which there seems to be a lot of migrants put into certain areas, and in some places there and here, there are stories about a whole lot of people being put into small towns where there's a very small population, to where the new people coming in, or the immigrants, or the non-white people, in some cases, are larger in that district, than the population that was already there. And in some cases, unfortunately, you have the existence of crime, and then you also have to consider the possibility that those in control of immigration are leaving behind, in some cases, people that would be perhaps free of certain behaviors. They may, in some cases, choose to put in a few bad eggs to make everybody look bad. So essentially what I'm getting at is that moving forward, there's going to be a whole lot more people globally brainwashed and wanting to kill Muslims or anybody looking like a Muslim, whether they be male, female, whether they be in the UK, in the United States, or anywhere else where the internet is being spread. And what people need to understand is this is a thought form. Egregore may be another appropriate term to use for this. And essentially, this is what I was trying to get people organized on the internet for years, around the idea of some of the concepts from Dion Fortune's book, along with the insight that I'm bringing to the table, that with the solar activity, with the explosive rise in that energy, there is great spiritual potential regardless of whether it's used for light or dark. Okay, and so we're definitely seeing the dark application of this with this internet meme, with this AI avatar. And so what I've dealt with for years is walking through society, being shorter, being browner, being olive skin, having an Arabic appearance, in a world in which the internet has been highlighting the worst when it comes to Arabic people, Middle Eastern people, heaven forbid I say the word Afghan. Okay, and so right now in 2026, I actually can't verify anybody, you know, willing to talk to me, show me that they're not thrown off by me, afraid of me, somebody willing to be a friend to me. Other than the human that I live with here, okay, I have no back and forth communication with anybody, but with her, she doesn't want to hear about the news, okay, and she's Hispanic, so she doesn't identify with, say, the expression Afghan Lives Matter, and she also refuses to say it. You know, so while I may be living with someone, and she may have watched me for years and wooed me, I talked about that in one of the previous podcasts, she's not really someone that I can turn to. So it's natural for me to be using the internet pretty regularly the last couple of years to try to find a female friend, in particular of my own heritage, of my own mother's heritage, which is white. And I found it to be an impossibility. It's just a dark world screaming incel, incel, misogynist, misogynist, while I'm going white supremacy on fire, liar, pants on fire. The Fourth Reich is here. It's not incel, it's not misogyny, it's me living in a world in which I am physically, intellectually, spiritually, everything that people of this culture hate. So basically, I'm doing time with demons. So there's going to be a lot of young white boys watching this that are going to be, you know, looking at the sexy white woman with the purple hair. Okay? And because they want to have a sexy white woman with purple hair or pink hair or whatever, they will do anything in order to get that poontang. So, if she's commanding that these little white boys that are developing their first erections and are developing their first feelings of sexuality, and, you know, she wants them to go in a certain direction, or her masters of getting people to commit genocide and to put people into gas chambers, okay, then they will make it sexy. And they already are using the AI avatar, the white woman, to influence people in these directions. And women are impressionable, okay? Things like status, okay, motivate, especially the American woman. And so the most revolutionary thing that a supposed protester could do, if she was generally against genocide, is to be my friend and to help me get books out there. So I don't buy it. And you can go ahead and unsubscribe, because I really don't need people on this newsletter who want me to continue to be small while people that look like me are dying. There are people amongst you and on your newspapers that are part of the fucking problem of genocide and why these people are dying, just so we're on the same fucking page. Okay, whether you're Willamette Week, okay, whether you're the Dallas News, okay, whether you're an NPR affiliate, whether you're a spiritual temple, they're the ones that unsubscribe to me the most. They're supposed spiritual temples, they're supposed Sufis, because they're on this path of actually not showing compassion for people that are doing the right thing, and they're just going into this cave and basically treating the genocides and people that are being harmed and people that are trying to do the right thing, that are needing help, like me, with silence. Okay, we're in dark times. We're in super satanic, evil, anti-human times. It's not just coming through Donald Trump. It's coming through the prejudices that people have towards people like me and the statements that I'm making. It's that type of hatred. It's that type of fascism, because that's what we're dealing with. We are dealing with fascism. And for years, people have treated me like I was wrong, like I was the bad guy, for warning of this gender-based white supremacy system. Okay, because it all does come down to who is with who and what type of babies are being born. Okay, and what I see from both left and right, women that distrust me and hate me because of my physical form, I'm seeing the real misogynists. They're the real misogynists because they hate my mother. If they didn't hate my mother, okay, and if they had compassion for a white woman who had a non-white baby, for the shit that baby went through and for the shit she went through, okay, then they would understand that it's not right to assume that just because someone looks a certain way that they're a rapist. And because of the direction that the feminist movement and Me Too has gone to, it does intersect in with judging people from other places. And so there's a deeper, darker reality to the modern left, to where they show compassion only for the woman in the hijab, if even that. And then we see people being duped by the woke movement. We see people being duped by children's books at Target. you know, that would show the women in the hijab was the white woman and the black woman and nobody else. And it's like, where's the father? Where's the brother? Where's the son? This is not a loving American society where it celebrates the family values of immigrants or those that came from immigrants that were born different, that have a deep spiritual understanding. Okay? Nobody can tell me that it's just that white side or the mother side in which I have this great intelligence. It is actually a fusion of the both, and still a lot of you aren't convinced, are you? Some of you might be here listening to the ultimate crazy man of your lifetime, right? It's entertainment, right? It's entertainment. Just like those stalker people, Nazi pieces of shit, right? That were on my channel watching me for entertainment. And that's what people need to understand and make a decision within their own mind. Either people have compassion and they want to help the voiceless and they're against racism or they're against genocide, or they're sitting there on the sidelines looking at me and talking to me and talking down to me like I'm a freak, like I'm not even a human being. And I've seen nothing but confirmation that I am not a human being to the people of your culture, to the people of your modern world, and it's not okay. If somebody says housing is a human right, housing is health care, and they used to come to my meetups years ago, and they're running the housing authority in Clackamas County, and I used to know them, shouldn't they at least wonder how I am or how I'm doing? If housing is a human right, why would there never be any attempt to get me into housing in Oregon by this former friend? You see, we live in a world where people use people. We live in a world where when the hate machine isn't on max, people act like, you know, they're normal and they're willing to talk to me. And then when the world becomes super hateful, like it did 10 years ago, all of a sudden there's like a major separation between me and the white race, which is my own race. And then I go from, you know, having connections with people to being shadow banned and having no connections with people, and knowing that my emotions, the things that I'm talking about, the things that I'm saying, it drives people away. They're offended by it. They're offended by the fact that I'm offended by white supremacy. They're offended by the fact that I am articulate enough to describe the cage that I'm in. Okay, so the counter to this is spirituality. There should be spiritual groups that are working to counter these egregores, these demonic thought forms. Okay, if I felt that the people on this newsletter really wanted that from me, I'd be cranking that out. But right now, there are no clues. Folks, hope you understand, for the people that are going to be finding this later, I've got to find a way to create some allies in my life so that there is some engagement between us so that I'm at my best. Right now, I'm very on. I'm very awake. I'm feeling very telepathic. And you know what? Maybe it's not my place to be trying to conjure up magic to protect anyone beyond those close to me or beyond myself. Maybe that's the lesson in here. So I can talk about how some things did not go well for me in the past when I tried to do magic, you know, to counterattack human traffickers. You know, with the power of my mind, summoning the masters of the inner planes, as Dion Fortune refers to them, and then calling for karma, right, to hunt down and come back against the men that have trafficked or hurt women, and then visualizing in a live YouTube stream Forth and Burnside, and calling forth the angels, calling forth the divine spirits to bring about a reckoning to the evil men of this world that are hunting women. That was also another example of women looking at me like I was crazy, at least the ones on my channel, and nobody going, "Aw, well, at least thanks for, you know, the nice thought." It was seen as crazy that I would even think that I would have the ability to engage in spiritual warfare. So spiritual warfare is real. People do need lessons. People do need instructions. And there is a place to do letters to the editor, to talk about these spiritual concepts when evil is rising. So I was right and correct to talk to you about this. And the very fact that they would create an AI avatar and then promote it, you know, promote this supposed sexy white woman with purple hair, you know, to be attacking immigrants and God knows what else she's going to be calling for. This should be a wake-up call.